They kept me close, shaping my path for their peace of mind. I found a way out. Now, years later, my mother asks me to return, invoking family ties. But I am busy helping others find their way to freedom. In my family, girls were expected to be engaged soon after reaching adolescence. It didn't matter whether you were 12, 13, or 14. Adulthood was declared early, and your future was no longer your own. For a long time, this felt ordinary, until I was 11, when my cousin Mayam was suddenly matched with a man many years her senior. That was when I began to question everything. That night, I quietly decided to delay growing up for as long as possible. I noticed that the smallest girls matured the latest, so I made that my shield. Others called me skeleton, but I didn't care. Many of them were already preparing for lives they hadn't chosen. My resolve didn't spare me from the household lessons. Every week, long hours were devoted to serving and silence. Mistakes met with correction, not compassion. My mother would remind me that beauty and obedience were a woman's greatest assets, repeating ideals she herself had been taught. Outwardly, I was the model daughter, polite, compliant, and smiling. Inside, I was studying survival. When I turned 14 and was still unchanged, I stumbled upon something transformative. Though all of this was happening in the United States, I had been told our way of life was normal, and that rejecting it meant loneliness and disgrace. One day, my teacher, Miss Rodriguez, called me in to check on my health. While she stepped out briefly, I saw a stack of brochures in her drawer. Marriage laws, your rights as a minor, when culture becomes a crime. My world shifted as I read. In this country, no one under 18 could legally be married, not even with parental permission. I took one brochure, hiding it carefully. Over the next few weeks, I memorized every word. Numbers for Child Protective Services, addresses of shelters, what to say if I needed help. I learned that teachers and doctors were required by law to report any harm. In secret, I started a group with 6 younger cousins who shared my fear of what awaited them. We met in my uncle's shed, whispering strategies, how to reach safety, which adults could intervene. Our code phrase was simple: I am being forced, please help. When I turned 15, change finally came. My family celebrated with songs and bright fabrics. A man, wealthy and much older, was chosen for me. Another cousin, Anna, soon followed. Her match was even older, and I saw her spirit fade as they discussed her dowry like a transaction. That night, I gave her my notebook, the one where I had written every contact, every hope. Tomorrow, I told her, talk to your teacher, use the words I taught you. She whispered, what about you? My wedding is in 2 weeks, I said. I'll figure something out. But before I could, there was a knock at the door. Child Protective Services had come, asking questions about the younger girls, about family traditions. When they left, the air filled with suspicion. Someone had told, someone had betrayed. My notes were discovered, and I was accused of bringing shame and corruption into the home. They decided the wedding would happen immediately. At dawn, I prepared my escape. I had a small bag hidden away, a change of clothes, a few dollars, and the addresses I had memorized. When my mother came to wake me, I feigned illness. She gave me 5 minutes. That was all I needed. I staggered down the hall, concealing the bag beneath my loose nightgown. Locked inside the bathroom, I immediately climbed onto the toilet. A ceiling tile I'd loosened weeks ago slid away easily. I shoved the bag up, then actually used the toilet to provide convincing sounds. 3 minutes passed. I flushed, turned the faucet, then groaned loudly again. "Mama, I can't stop my stomach!" Her fist pounded on the door. "Open this!" "I can't," I screamed, climbing back onto the toilet. The tiny ventilation window above it had been painted shut years ago, but I'd been working on it with a stolen butter knife. "Please, just 1 more minute." The pounding intensified. Multiple voices now. My aunts had joined her. I pushed against the window frame with all my might. The paint cracked, then gave way. Cool morning air rushed in. The opening was tiny, meant for ventilation, not escape. But months of starvation had made me small enough. "She's taking too long," my father's voice boomed. "Break it down." I retrieved the bag from the ceiling and pushed it through the opening. Then I pulled myself up, my shoulders scraping the frame. The door shuddered from heavy impacts. My hips caught. I bit my tongue to stifle a scream, twisting sideways. The lock splintered the moment my feet cleared the window opening. I dropped 6 feet onto the wet grass. My ankle twisted but didn't break. Behind me, screams erupted from the bathroom. I ran barefoot, my nightgown flapping. I dashed across our backyard toward the neighbors. Dogs barked, motion sensors flashed. I kept running. Our neighborhood was a maze of identical houses, all filled with families from our community. Any one of them would return me without question. I cut through the Hassan's yard, past the Mahmoud's pool, around the Salos garden shed. The roar of a car engine echoed behind me, then another. They mobilized fast. I plunged behind the Abdallah's garbage cans as headlights swept past. My cousin Omar's voice sliced through the morning air. "Check every street, she couldn't have gone far." The main road was 3 blocks away, the bus stop 4. I had mapped this route 100 times in my head, but never barefoot, never with my heart pounding so hard it felt ready to detonate. I darted between houses, using parked cars as cover. My feet left bloody prints on the concrete. A shard of glass lodged in my heel, but I couldn't stop. "There!" my cousin Kareem's shout rang out from the left. A car screeched around the corner. I dove into Mrs. Chen's rose bushes, thorns tearing my nightgown and skin. She wasn't part of our community. Maybe she wouldn't recognize me. I limped across her backyard and burst into the alley. The bus stop came into view just as the early morning bus pulled up. I launched myself from behind the buildings, waving my arms desperately. The driver, an elderly black woman, glanced at my bloody feet and torn nightgown and held the door. I stumbled up the steps and froze. No money. In my panic, I had left the $20 in the bag. "Please," I whispered. "I just need to get downtown. I'll pay you, I promise." A kind older woman in the front seat stood up, tapped the exact fare into the machine. "Sit down, child," she said softly. She asked no questions, simply guided me to the seat beside her and gave me tissues from her purse. The bus pulled away just as Omar's car screeched into the lot. I ducked below the window, but not before seeing his face, contorted in fury. The woman next to me shifted slightly, shielding me from view. We rode in silence to the courthouse district, where she pressed a $10 bill into my hand before getting off. "Whatever you're running from," she whispered, "don't go back." The courthouse was enormous, a building I'd only ever seen from a car window. I limped through the metal detectors, leaving faint, bloody trails on the marble floor. The guards exchanged glances, but did not stop me. The family court clerk, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked at me and walked around the counter. "Sweetheart, do you need medical attention?" "Emergency protective order," I gasped out, the memorized words. "I'm 15. I'm being forced to marry today, please." She led me to a chair and brought me forms. "Where are you staying? I need an address for the order." I recited a shelter address from memory, praying they would have a bed when I got there. My phone, forgotten in the bag, began to ring. Mom, then Dad, then Omar, then unknown numbers. Voicemails accumulated, which I didn't listen to. I knew what they would say. Shame, curse, cancer. The clerk helped me fill out the papers, her face darkening with each detail. Previous wives dead at 23, kidney failure from 2 frequent pregnancies, a forced marriage ceremony scheduled for that very day. She returned with a judge, who read my petition right there in the lobby. "Granted," he said. "The emergency order is effective immediately, full hearing in 2 weeks." I clutched the paper like a lifeline and limped outside. The shelter was 12 blocks away. I made it 3 blocks before remembering they might not have space. A call confirmed my fears. "We're completely full," the voice said. "We can put you on the waiting list for Thursday." Thursday, 3 days away. I had nowhere to go for 3 days. Then I remembered Miss Rodriguez, my teacher, the one who showed me those brochures, the one who forgot to lock her drawer that day. Perhaps she hadn't forgotten at all. 3 buses and 2 hours later, I stood outside Jefferson High School. Saturday meant it should be empty, but her car was in the parking lot. I'd noticed she sometimes came in on weekends to grade papers in the silence. I found her in her classroom, a red pen in her hand, a stack of essays beside her. She looked up and dropped the pen. Oh my God! She was beside me in seconds, taking in my bloody feet, my torn nightgown, the protective order clutched in my fist. Sit, don't move. She returned with the school nurse's first aid kit and began cleaning my feet. Only then did I cry. Real tears, not the ones from the bathroom. They were going to force me to marry him today, I sobbed. He killed 2 wives. I got the order, but the shelter is full and they're looking for me. She pulled out her phone, the emergency CPS line. They are obligated to provide you with a safe space. But the voice on the other end was not encouraging. 15 years old? We need more proof of immediate danger. A protective order based on statements isn't enough. Was she physically harmed? Miss Rodriguez's face darkened. She has glass in her feet from running barefoot. She's covered in cuts. Self-inflicted during escape doesn't count. We need evidence of abuse from the family. My phone rang again. This time, Miss Rodriguez answered. Hello? Her face paled. Mr. Habibi? No, your daughter is not. What? No, she... I heard my father's voice through the speaker, calm and reasoning, his business voice, the one he used to convince people he was a respectable man. She is ill, he was saying, psychological issues. She needs medication. We are very worried. Miss Rodriguez hung up. How did he know you were here? My phone. Of course, they were tracking my location. Wipe it, she said. Factory reset, now. While I wiped my phone, she made more calls. CPS supervisors, social workers, legal aid. Everyone said the same thing. Without immediate physical danger or stronger evidence, their hands were tied. It was then we heard the sound of car doors slamming in the parking lot. Miss Rodriguez locked the classroom door and dropped the blinds. Quiet. Footsteps echoed down the hall, many of them, male voices speaking in Arabic, then English. We know she is here, my father shouted. Her phone traced to this location. She is ill. She needs help. They rattled the doorknob, polite knocking first, then harder. I'm calling 911, Miss Rodriguez whispered, but I grabbed her arm. Wait, let me try something first. I rolled up my sleeves, showing her the round scars from the pot training, the bruises from the morning struggle when my mother tried to force me into the wedding dress. Then I lifted my nightgown just enough to show the deep belt marks across my lower back. Her hands trembled as she took photos with her own phone. Why didn't you show me this sooner? I thought it was normal, I whispered, until I read your brochures. She dialed 911. Multiple men are attempting to break into my classroom. I have a student with me who is in danger. Please hurry. The pounding on the door intensified. Then my uncle's voice. We have her medication, she is bipolar, schizophrenic, she invents stories. Check the parking lot cameras, I told Miss Rodriguez. I came alone. If they have medication, they brought it with them. She called school security, rapidly explaining the situation. The guard, Mr. Williams, said he was reviewing the footage. In the distance, police sirens wailed. The pounding stopped. Footsteps retreated quickly. By the time the officers arrived, my father had transformed. Gone was the angry man breaking down doors. In his place stood a concerned parent in an expensive suit holding prescription bottles with my name on them. Thank God you are here, he told the officers. My daughter is very ill. She has delusional ideas. She invents terrible stories about our family. The officers separated us for questioning. One stayed with Miss Rodriguez and I, while 2 others talked to my father and uncles in the hall. She has never taken medication, Miss Rodriguez insisted. I have been her teacher for 2 years. Look at these injuries. The officer looked at my feet. The cuts, the bruises, could be self-inflicted during an episode, he said slowly. If she was having a breakdown. Check when those prescriptions were filled, I said suddenly. If I am this sick, why am I not in the system? Why no doctor visits, no therapy? Miss Rodriguez pulled up her laptop. I have her essays, she typed. Months of assignments about family traditions, cultural expectations. They subtly document everything. She had kept them. Every essay where I hid the truth between the lines, writing about traditional cooking lessons when I meant burning my hands, describing preparing for marriage when I meant beatings for eye contact. The officer read them, frowning more deeply with each page. Meanwhile, Mr. Williams arrived with the security footage on his phone. It clearly showed my father and uncles arriving with the prescription bottles already in their hands. "Anna," I said suddenly, "call Anna Mansour. She filed a report yesterday. She knows everything." But when Miss Rodriguez looked up Anna's family, she found they had moved to another state that very morning. No forwarding address, phone disconnected. My father must have sensed the tide turning because his calm facade cracked. He began speaking rapidly in Arabic to his uncles, gesturing angrily. "What is he saying?" the officer asked. "He is telling them to call the family lawyer," I translated, "and he is saying something about non-refundable mahr." That was his mistake, mentioning the dowry. The officer's expression hardened. "Sir, what dowry?" My father's face froze. "I misspoke, my English." "Your English seemed fine 5 minutes ago," the officer noted. The next hour cast in a blur. More police arrived. An emergency CPS supervisor, someone from the district attorney's office. My father cycled between threatening lawsuits and pleading for family honor. My uncle cited religious freedom and parental rights. But the evidence was piling up. The essays, the injuries, the fraudulent prescriptions, the camera footage, the emergency protective order I filed that morning. "This is a minor who has made credible allegations of abuse and forced marriage," the CPS supervisor finally stated. "We are placing her into emergency protective custody." My father exploded. He lunged toward me, screaming in Arabic about shame and curses. 2 officers restrained him as he spat threats about what happens to girls who betray their families. Miss Rodriguez held my hand as he was led away. The emergency placement coordinator arrived 20 minutes later, a tired-looking woman named Margaret, who was clearly pulled away from her weekend. She glanced at my feet and immediately called for medical transport. "We need to get those cuts properly tended to," she said, helping me into a wheelchair. "The glass needs to come out before infection sets in." Miss Rodriguez squeezed my shoulder. "I'll follow you to the hospital. You are not alone." The emergency room was chaos. Saturday afternoon meant sports injuries and accidents filling every bay. A triage nurse quickly assessed me, noting the glass embedded in my heel and the various cuts that needed attention. While she worked, Margaret made calls, desperate to find a placement. "Yes, I understand you're full," she said into the phone. "This is an emergency removal, cultural marriage situation. No, she can't go to a normal foster home. Yes, she needs specialized placement." Every call ended the same. No beds, no space, no capacity for high-risk cultural cases. Miss Rodriguez paced the small curtained area. There has to be somewhere. "What about shelters?" "Women's shelters are all full," Margaret sighed. "Weekend placement is always hard, and cases like this," she lowered her voice, "the families often try to retrieve the girls. We need a secure location." The doctor came in to remove the glass, injecting a local anesthetic before beginning the painstaking work. I bit my lip, less from the pain and more from the fear. Every minute without placement was another minute my family could find me. "Wait," Miss Rodriguez said suddenly. "I know someone, a retired nurse who used to work with the county. She's done emergency placements before." Margaret perked up. "Does she have certification? Let me call." Miss Rodriguez stepped out, returning a few minutes later with a slight smile. "Theodora Whitman. She has emergency placement certification and experience with cultural transition cases. She can take her tonight." Relief washed over me as Margaret finalized the paperwork. The doctor finished bandaging my feet, prescribing antibiotics to prevent infection. As we prepared to leave, my phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. "You have disgraced us all. This is not over." I showed it to Margaret, who immediately documented it. "We'll need to change your number, and you'll have to be careful about social media. They can track you." The ride to Theodora's house took 40 minutes, winding through unfamiliar neighborhoods far from my community. Miss Rodriguez followed in her car, refusing to leave until she knew I was safe. The house was modest but well kept, with security cameras visible on every corner and a high fence surrounding the property. Theodora met us at the door, a sturdy woman in her 60s with a sharp gaze and gentle hands. She assessed my bandaged feet and drawn face with a nurse's professional evaluation. "Come in, dear. Let's get you settled." Inside, it was warm and cozy, nothing like the cold marble and golden fixtures of my family's home. She showed me a small bedroom with a lock on the inside of the door. "For your peace of mind," she simply said. "The windows are alarmed, and there are motion sensors on the perimeter. You are safe here." Margaret finished the intake paperwork while Miss Rodriguez helped me unpack my meager belongings. Before leaving, my teacher pressed a card into my hand. "My private number. Call anytime, day or night." That first night, I barely slept. Every passing car made me tense. Every shadow could be an uncle or cousin come to drag me back. Theodora found me sitting by the window at 3 a.m., staring out. "They came for the last girl, too," she said softly, settling into a chair nearby. 3 brothers and a father stood right outside that gate, demanding I return their property. She smiled grimly. "Police response time to this address is under 2 minutes. I made sure of that." Sunday was spent in a blur of security planning. Theodora helped me set up a new phone with a number known only to her, Margaret, and Miss Rodriguez. We ran through scenarios: what to do if someone approached me, how to vary routes, which neighbors to trust in an emergency. "Tomorrow, we'll need to enroll you in a school in this district," she said. "Your protective order means you can't return to Jefferson High." The thought of starting over was daunting, but staying concealed was more important than familiar corridors. Monday morning brought the first test. Theodora's doorbell rang at 6 a.m. The security monitor showed my aunt and 2 female cousins. They carried food containers and looked concerned. "We know she's here," my aunt called through the intercom. "We just want to talk. Her grandmother is sick with worry." Theodora didn't even reply, just called the non-emergency police line. "Yes, subjects of the protective order are on my property. Thank you." They left before the patrol car arrived, but not before my cousin held up a poster to the camera. "We love you. Come home." The manipulation had begun. That same day, Margaret called with news. "Your father has retained a lawyer. They are alleging parental alienation and demanding your return." Can they do that? They can try, but with the protective order and CPS involvement, it's unlikely. Still, you have to be ready for a fight. Tuesday brought flowers. A huge bouquet appeared on the doorstep with a card. "Our hearts are broken. Please forgive us. Love, Mom." Theodora photographed everything before disposing of them. "Document everything," she reminded me. "Every contact, every attempt." I started a new school on Wednesday, enrolled under special circumstances that shielded my records. A counselor aware of my situation assigned me a peer buddy and arranged for me to eat lunch in the library if needed. "We've had similar cases," she assured me. "Your safety is our priority." But safety felt fragile when I spotted a familiar car in the parking lot after school. Not my father's car, he was too smart for that, but one of my uncle's construction trucks was parked where anyone leaving would have to drive past it. I dove back inside, calling Theodora from the counselor's office. She arrived within minutes, parking right in front of the truck and walking me to her car, recording everything on her phone. "Let them know we see them," she said. "Let them know we are not afraid." Thursday brought legal papers. My father was petitioning for my return, claiming I was brainwashed by outside forces and in danger of losing my cultural identity. Margaret connected me with a legal aid lawyer, a tough woman named Patricia who specialized in these cases. "Standard tactics," Patricia said, reviewing the papers. "They will claim religious freedom, parental rights, cultural preservation. We counter with child protection, documented abuse, and your testimony." Will I have to see them in court? Not if I can help it, but you have to be prepared for the possibility. Tuesday brought flowers. A huge bouquet appeared on the doorstep with a card. "Our hearts are broken. Please forgive us. Love, Mom." Theodora photographed everything before disposing of them. "Document everything," she reminded me. "Every contact, every attempt." I started a new school on Wednesday, enrolled under special circumstances that shielded my records. A counselor aware of my situation assigned me a peer buddy and arranged for me to eat lunch in the library if needed. "We've had similar cases," she assured me. "Your safety is our priority." But safety felt fragile when I spotted a familiar car in the parking lot after school. Not my father's car, he was too smart for that, but one of my uncle's construction trucks was parked where anyone leaving would have to drive past it. I dove back inside, calling Theodora from the counselor's office. She arrived within minutes, parking right in front of the truck and walking me to her car, recording everything on her phone. "Let them know we see them," she said. "Let them know we are not afraid." Thursday brought legal papers. My father was petitioning for my return, claiming I was brainwashed by outside forces and in danger of losing his cultural identity. Margaret connected me with a legal aid lawyer, a tough woman named Patricia who specialized in these cases. "Standard tactics," Patricia said, reviewing the papers. "They will claim religious freedom, parental rights, cultural preservation. We counter with child protection, documented abuse, and your testimony." Will I have to see them in court? Not if I can help it, but you have to be prepared for the possibility. Friday morning marked a real escalation. Theodora woke me up early, her face grim. "Check your social media. Don't log in, just look." On a borrowed laptop, she showed me my father's public Facebook post, a photo of me next to a desperate plea. "Please help us find our daughter. She is mentally ill and needs medication. She was taken by people who filled her head with lies. We fear for her safety." Comments were already pouring in. Family friends offered prayers, community members shared the post, some even offered a reward for information. "This is witness intimidation," Patricia said when we called her. "He is trying to control the narrative. We need to respond carefully." But the damage was spreading. By noon, the post had been shared hundreds of times. My picture was circulating in community group chats with warnings about a sick girl needing help. Then came the first true betrayal. One of the girls from my life skills group, my younger cousin Margie, the one I tried to protect, posted a video response. In it, she sat primly beside her mother, mouthing clearly rehearsed phrases. "She told us terrible lies about our family. She said our parents wanted to hurt us. She made us afraid of our own culture. Please, if you see her, help bring her home so she can get help." My heart broke as I looked at her empty eyes, knowing the pressure she must have been under to record those words. Theodora held me while I cried. "They are using everything you love against you, but it doesn't make what you did wrong." Saturday brought an unexpected visitor. The doorbell camera showed a young woman I didn't recognize with an envelope in her hand. "I'm from a legal office," she called out. "I have papers for the minor." Theodora was suspicious. "Leave them in the mailbox, I'll collect them." But as the woman turned to leave, I caught her profile and gasped. It was my cousin Sarah, 3 years older than me, in a wig and business clothes. "Don't go out there," Theodora warned. But I was already at the window. Sarah looked up, meeting my gaze. For a moment, her mask slipped, and I saw tears. Then she collected herself, placed the envelope in the mailbox, and hurried away. The envelope contained photographs. My grandmother looking frail, my younger sister at a birthday party, my chair pointedly empty, my mother crying while cooking my favorite dish. Every image carefully chosen for maximum guilt. But the last photograph made my blood run cold. It was Anna, returned from wherever she'd been hidden. She stood between her parents, wearing an engagement ring, her eyes dead. On the back, someone had written, "She came home. She's happy now. You can be too." "They brought her back," I whispered. "They'll still make her marry him." Patricia swore when we called her. "This complicates things. If Anna recants her testimony—" "She won't recant," I said fiercely. "Look at her eyes. She's terrified. Fear doesn't matter if she won't testify." Sunday's attack was more direct. Theodora's neighbor called to report men photographing the house from the street. By the time the police arrived, they had vanished. But the message was clear. "We know where you are." "Perhaps you should consider a witness protection program," Margaret suggested during a particularly bad week. But I thought of Fatima, hiding for 5 years, of all the other girls still trapped. To run meant abandoning them. No, I decided. I'm staying. I'm fighting. I'll show them it's possible. The next test came from an unexpected source. A woman appeared at Theodora's door claiming to be from a cultural mediation service. "We specialize in family reconciliation," she said smoothly. "Perhaps we could arrange a supervised meeting." Theodora slammed the door in her face, but the woman left brochures about the tragedy of cultural disconnect and the importance of family unity. Similar approaches followed: a therapist specializing in cultural reintegration, a religious leader offering mediation, even a distant relative I barely knew, claiming my grandmother was dying and pleading for a last visit. Every attempt was documented, reported, and refused, but they wore us down. Then Patricia called with unexpected news. Anna wants to meet you. My heart leapt, then dropped. Is it a trap? I don't know. She contacted me through her lawyer. Says she has information you need to hear. The meeting was arranged in Patricia's office with security present. When Anna walked in, I barely recognized her. She was thinner, her eyes dull, and she moved as if something inside her was broken. They made me come back, she whispered when we were alone. They said they would hurt my younger sister if I didn't. Anna, I'm so sorry. Listen, she interrupted urgently. There's something you need to know. They're planning something. I overheard my father talking. They've given up on trying to get you back. That's good. No. Her eyes filled with tears. Now they want to make an example of you, to show the other girls what happens when you betray the family. What do you mean? I don't know exactly, but I heard them mention your new school and something about a message everyone will understand. My blood ran cold. When? Soon, maybe this week. I'm sorry, they don't trust me now. She grabbed my hands. Be careful. Change everything. Don't follow a pattern. They've been watching, learning your routines. Security quickly escorted her out, but not before she pressed a tiny slip of paper into my palm with an address. The other girls, she mouthed silently. Help them. That night, Theodora and I made plans. I would take a few days off school, change my schedule, never be alone. But we underestimated their resolve. Wednesday morning, I was in the kitchen when Theodora's alarm went off. Not the perimeter, but the window sensor in my bedroom. Lock yourself in the bathroom, Theodora commanded, already dialing 911. I ran, hearing the sound of breaking glass behind me, male voices shouting in Arabic. These were not my father or uncles. They were too smart to come themselves. These were hired muscle, distant relatives, or community members willing to do the dirty work. The bathroom door was solid wood with a good lock, but it wouldn't hold forever. I could hear them searching, calling my name, promising they just want to talk. Police will be here in 3 minutes, Theodora shouted through the door. Hold tight. The doorknob rattled, then heavy pounding began. They had found me. Come out, girl. Don't make this difficult. Your family misses you. I pressed against the far wall, searching for anything to defend myself with. Hairspray can, scissors, and a drawer. Not much against grown men. The door frame began to splinter. One more heavy impact, and they would be in. Then the sirens. Beautiful, blessed sirens, screaming down our street. The pounding stopped, footsteps ran, doors slammed. By the time the police entered, the men were gone, leaving only broken glass and muddy tracks. We need to move you tonight, Margaret said, arriving within the hour. This location is compromised. Packing my meager belongings, I thought of Anna's warning, the address she had given me, and all the girls still trapped, still believing they had no choice. I want to do one thing first, I told Theodora. Before we leave, I need to make a call. I dialed Miss Rodriguez's number. Remember those brochures? I think it's time to make them bigger, much bigger. Because they could move me, threaten me, and hunt me, but they could not silence the knowledge I had spread. Every girl who learned her rights was a victory they could not undo. The war for my freedom was not over, but leaving Theodora's compromised sanctuary for the next safe house, I carried something stronger than fear, the certainty that I had already won the most important battle. I had proven that it was possible to say no, to choose a different path, to survive their rejection, and to build a new life. And that message, that hope, would spread to the other girls, whether my family liked it or not.